Alright, today's lesson is going to be adding integers. Before we start adding integers, what I'd like to do is I'd like to define the word integer. So an integer is the set of all whole numbers and their opposites. Okay, a whole number is like a counting number. So our whole numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Okay? The opposites of these numbers would be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. So 100 is a whole number and -100 is a whole number. So now that we define integers, we're going to go ahead and go into a couple examples called adding integers. Okay, so on your homework you might have a problem like this. 11 plus 16, and it's going to say equals, and there might be a question mark, or it might be blank. We know how to do this problem. These are integers because they're whole numbers. So what we would do is we'd do 11 plus 16, and we would get 27. So 11 plus 16 equals 27. The problem lies when we're dealing with the numbers opposites. So we could have a problem like this. -11 plus 16. Okay, -11 plus 16 is a special case. And to do this, when we have signs that involve negative numbers, we have a rule. This rule is called SADS. S-A-D-S. SADS is very important when we're adding integers. Okay? So anytime we're adding integers, we can resort to this rule. And the rule says when adding integers, if we have the same sign, we add the numbers. If we have different signs, we subtract the numbers. Okay? So if we go back to this problem that we're trying to solve before we decided to talk about SADS, we have different signs. We have a negative number here, and we have a positive number here. One's negative, one's positive. So we're going to resort to our rule. Do they have the same sign? No. Do they have different signs? Yes. Since they have different signs, we're going to subtract the numbers. When subtracting, we always take the bigger number and subtract the smaller one. 16 is bigger than 11, so 16 minus 11 is 5. Now, since we had two different signs, we have to determine is this a positive 5 or negative 5. To do that, we look at, again, the bigger number. We have an 11 and 16. We take a look. The bigger number is 16. Is 16 positive or negative? 16 is positive. Since there are more positives, we're going to go ahead and call this positive 5. Okay? If we were facing the fact like this, if we had positive 11 plus negative 16, the parentheses are here just to separate these two symbols. If we had positive 11 plus negative 16, we would still consult our rules because we have an addition problem. And we have different signs. One's positive, one's negative. Since we have different signs, we're going to subtract just so we can do this problem. We take the bigger number. Which one it is? It's 16. 16 minus 11, again, is 5. But this time, the bigger number happened to be 16. So we take the sign of the bigger number. 16 is the bigger number, and the sign in front is negative, so our answer in this case is going to be negative 5. These two problems look similar. This number was bigger, so it's positive. In this case, 16 was bigger, and 16 was negative, so my answer is negative. Okay? And then we have a third example, which I'm going to write over here. Okay? So we had same signs, and we added. 11 plus 16 is 27. We know how to do that for a long time now. When we had different signs, it was a little bit different. We had to remember we had to subtract the numbers, and then take the sign of the larger number. What happens if we have a problem like this? Negative 14 plus negative 2. Okay? This time both integers are negative. I have a negative 14 and a negative 2. It may look a little different, but if I consult my rule, same sign, add, different sign, subtract, and I look, I have the same signs. In other words, they're both negative. Since they both have the same sign, I'm going to add my integers. 14 plus 2 is 16. And when it's this case, here we had to choose which one's bigger. Whichever number was bigger, that was our sign we took for our answer. In other words, 16 was bigger, so it was positive 5. 16 is bigger, but this time it's negative, so my answer was negative 5 in this example. When the signs are the same, all you do is keep the sign. This was a negative plus a negative, and it stays negative 16. Okay? So I'd like to define my rule, and then we'll be done with this lesson. My rule really is same sign, add, keep the sign for your answer. Okay? If I had different signs, like these two examples, I take the sign of the larger number for my answer. This concludes a short mini lesson on how to add integers.